family? It's your boy D coming right back at you with another one. As you guys can see, I do have the Vizio soundbar back in the studio. We're going to be going inside of this to see what the internals of it look like. This is a project that I've been wanting to do for a while. I noticed that a lot of you guys have not been liking the videos about the sound bars. My apologies for that. I'll be bringing you guys some more content later on. But for right now, I got this on my mind and I am going to be trying to finish this. What I am going to be doing is opening this thing up, seeing what the internals look like, the speakers, the drivers. It should be a center channel and a left and right channel. And I'm going to see if I can fashion them into something that is better than what it already is. Things sounds pretty good already, but I do think that I can improve the sound of it. I had this sound bar for about 3 years or so, and instead of just getting rid of it or selling it on Craigslist or something, I'm just trying to see if I can just upgrade the housing of it and do something better to increase the quality of the sound of it. In order to do this job, you're going to need 3 things. The power, well, you're actually going to need 2 things. The power tool is optional. If you have an extension drill bit, that'll be optimal. But as of right now, you're going to need 1 Phillips screwdriver, because that's what the hardware is for this on the inside. And you're going to need some type of pry tool. In my case, I'm going to be using a flathead screwdriver to do this. And once I pop the covers on this thing, I'm going to let you see exactly what it looks like on the inside. And for anybody that's curious, because I'm not going to film this, I'm not going to make you sit through a disassembly of the sound bar. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to pry off and exactly where the screws are, and I'm just going to be pretty much zooming through it like that. So to get things started, these 2 caps simply prise off like that, and then you have an abundance of screws. I think about 20 screws or so are on the internals of that. So I'm going to go pry these ends off and let you guys see exactly what that looks like. Well, I guess I will show you guys just how easy this is. I know I just said I wasn't going to do it, and if this bore anybody, my apologies for that. But it's quite simple. You just have this thing fitted like this, and these little prongs, I'm guessing, probably are going to go inside of just some little holders like that. And it's identical on the other side, so we're going to skip this part. Okay, so now that we got the sides off of this thing, what we're going to be doing now is actually get it into, we're gonna have to get this cover off. And this is just like some type of cloth material. As you guys can see that, you can see the center channel impression here. I think we covered this in the last video. What we're going to do is just lay this forward. And if my understanding is that you gotta like pry this part off. So I'm gonna get that going, and I'm gonna get back with you guys. Well, in actuality, what you have to do is, if you guys can see here, you have let me get this thing to zoom. You have an assortment of screws here, 1, 2, 3, and I think it's a 4th one over there. I can't see at this angle, but you have to get those off first before this cover is actually able to peel up. So I'm going to be doing that next. Yeah, as you guys can see, I do have this. I did take these speakers out, and as you guys can see, yeah, this thing here is just clamps in. The screws on the end of them is pretty much what's securing it. And you just get, I mean, you can actually get a fingernail under there and kind of pop this thing out. But of course, it'll be a lot better if you use an actual flat tool to just come through and pry this thing off. It's pretty simple. Once you can get something in there. But I'm not going to one-hand this. I'm afraid I'm going to poke a hole in the driver. So I'll get right back with you guys. All right, guys. As you can see, I do have this thing loose here. Let's go ahead and pop, and it just pops right off. I mean, you pry this side and you pry the other side as well, and it just comes off like that. No need to worry about the controls, because these buttons up here is just that. They're just static buttons that compresses down on top of this this strip right here, which all of this stuff is going to have to be taken out of here if I'm going to be actually using this thing like I want to. And as you can see, let's get straight to the drivers, right? That's the fun part of all this is the drivers. What do they look like? I see some electrical components right here. I'm guessing that this chamber is sealed on the inside. I can't really tell right now, but I'm guessing that this chamber here is sealed, sealed off from this right here. This allows breathability so that it can actually vent from heat build up. Same thing here, and right here I'm guessing also that this is a sealed chamber. Sealed chamber, center channel sealed. So it's all sealed. There's no port. I don't see a vent anywhere. So basically what you have here, and this is a good way to test if it's a sealed chamber or not. If I push this driver, this is a radiator, should move as well. So you push down on here, and I don't know if you guys can pick up on that or not. You see that? When you push one, the other moves. Oh, I almost left a dent in it. But okay, so you push one and the other moves. I don't know if you guys can really see that. It may not be as sealed as good as it can be, or as sealed as it could be, right? Another indication of a good seal is that this would rise back to position very slowly. And I'm looking at it. It's getting, it got a little bit of, it's not getting there as quick as I've seen others with a poor seal, but I think that could definitely be slower than what it's doing here. Especially this little guy. Look at that. That's a lot of free movement right there. It's not really indicative of a tight seal, but it is a small guy. You know, I think the smaller they are, and it depends on how much volume is on the inside as well, whether it'll do that slow release, you know. But I think a good seal I think that slow release is indicative of a pretty decent seal. So enough yapping. We're gonna get these screws out of here, and we're gonna see exactly what we're working with. So for right now, let's see what all these little recesses, you see that? Screws everywhere. Which is not necessarily a bad thing as far as build quality. You want it to be secured, right? But as far as me being able to do any maintenance on it, that's kind of a headache. So let's see how many we got. We got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 8, 20 screws. We got 20 in total. So I'm gonna get all these things out. I'm not gonna force you guys to sit through that, and I'll be right back with you. And for everyone who was wondering, this drill bit is actually long enough to make short work of this. It's very useful to have. I mean, I do have a manual screwdriver. I know I recommended that as well. Of course, you can do that with that, but this thing is making very light work of all of this. So, for the guy in the comment section who was talking about how ugly my drill is, guess what? It still works. Okay, so now that I actually got the screws out of here, I do have the screws out. I don't see an apparent way of prying this thing open. That's the next challenge, is to find, I think that this seam that runs along the top of it, maybe that is the seam. Let me see the back of it, because I really would like to preserve the integrity of the enclosure, just in case I don't, or just in case I'm not able to be completely satisfied with what I have in mind. Because what I have in mind, I have two options in mind, two ideas in mind that I want to exercise with this. One would be to have a dedicated enclosure for the left and right and center channel, or to just make a better bar altogether. Because like right now, this bar here is like 38, I believe. let's look at the serial number on this thing, the model number. It tells it all. Um, the model number on here says I don't know. I don't let me look over here. Maybe it's the Vizio. I'll be right back with you guys. Yeah, so this is actually a 38-inch bar, which is not small, but it can actually be bigger. The thing is that the wider the channels are, typically the more coverage that you have, and sound isolation becomes a whole lot better, which what makes any surround unit sounds great is the way that, for one, that the internals processes the sound, filters the sound, and the way that it actually throws the sound to each unit is very, very important. So the process on inside this thing is very, very important, along with the placement of the speakers. And the wider apart that these speakers are placed, the more coverage that you can get with that. And I'm thinking that if I make the bar even wider, or if I design an even wider bar than what it is, it'll increase the experience when listening to this thing. But I think what I'm just gonna do, what I'm probably gonna do is just make separate enclosures for each of them, and probably put all the internals where it is now, which is with the center channel, and just make it the center control unit. You know, it controls these two, and just have these two wire to this one right here. So that's the two options, or the two ideas that I have in my mind. But for right now, that's it. I'll be right back with you guys once I get figure out how to open this thing. All right, so I just want to point out something to anybody who's attempting to do this with this exact model. On the end here, you do have your LED indicator right here. And for those who do not own this, if you're wondering exactly what this thing is, when you adjust the volume, in on the remote of this soundbar, you have a menu, um, um, menu. So you go into the menu, and you have various things like volume control. You have the subwoofer, sound adjustment, the balance, and things of that nature. And this little LED indicator here that actually shows through this little screen mesh. It's pretty cool the way they have it set up. It shows through that little screen mesh right there. This thing is actually attached to the top of this by this ribbon cable, and this ribbon cable runs right here to the internals, which is underneath here. And I have figured out exactly how to get this out of here. Um, the front of this simply pries off like the rest of it, but as you can see, this ribbon cable was preventing it from actually coming loose. I mean, you guys just seen that before your eyes. As soon as this was out of the way, it actually wanted to come off on its own. So as you, again, be very wary that this thing does have two screws on the inside of it. So if you just try to pry it off, it'll definitely damage this and it won't work any longer. So I just wanted to point that out before I move forward. All right, guys, so this is pretty much what it looked like disassembled here. This is pretty much what you're working with. And for everyone who is interested in the placement of it or what exactly these components are, I'm going to pull this out in a minute just to see what I'm working with in terms of size and components. But I really like what Vizio has done here. This is a very compact unit. This is your logic section over here, and they have kept it isolated from the power station over here. So this is what's powering the unit. I don't know exactly. I haven't looked exactly at the board to see how many volts this thing is running on. But given the output power of it, I would say that it's running on upwards of 16 volts, I would say. In between, definitely in between 12 and 20 something volts is what I'm guessing. I don't think this is just a 12 volt system. I'm thinking it's more of a 24 volt, but I haven't confirmed that. So That's just me talking, but I'm just letting you know that this is a good design right here because you do have your power unit or your power station separated from your logics. Over here, you don't want these two to touch because then you get interference and you get that humming that a lot of cheaper devices would give, or some do-it-yourself kits come and you're like, have a lot of people complaining about the humming noise, and they're like, "Oh, I got some type of ground loop going on or whatever." And sometimes it's just as simple as you have speaker wires running across electrical power components, and that's the interference that you're getting. But here they have everything nice and compact. It looks very good. I can easily take this out of here and do something else with it. The only challenge behind that would probably be the placement of things like my buttons and stuff like that and how to design that. So I would probably be throwing this into my 3D modeling software that I use and designing an enclosure for it. And what I think I'm going to do is just pretty much stick with what they have here, which is the logic and the power being attached to the center channel. I think I'm going to stick with that and just have each of these channels being separate, and of course a lot larger, right? So this is the driver that I pulled out, and look at that. I mean, I have to say that in my last video of this, I did kind of criticize the little drivers, right? I was kind of talking down on them. Well, not really talking down on them. I was disappointed because I thought it was more in it than this little, what is this, a 2.5-inch driver here? I guess you can say that would be considered a 3-inch driver. So you got a 3-inch driver right there, very small unit. I think it's more of a 2-inch, to be honest with you. That's about maybe 2.5 inches that you have here. So we're just going to say a 3-inch driver. So we got a 3-inch driver here, and I expected more I expected from this, but to be honest with you, in all fairness, and from what I've seen from other systems, this is not, hey, get out here. This is not bad at all. I mean, look at this little guy. This little guy, the reason why I say it's not bad at all, because I had to think about the design of this. Yeah, it's a small, as far as surface area or whatever, but hey, what are you expecting a soundbar? The whole idea behind a soundbar is to pack a punch in a small package. And that's pretty much what they have accomplished here. I kind of like this driver, to be honest with you. This one here is a little bit more beefier than the other one that's in the surround channels. So what you have here, if you look at it, and for everyone who wants to see the bottom of it and see exactly what it's rated at, it's rated at 6 ohms of resistance with and at 20 watts. I don't know if the 20 watt is peak or RMS. I have no idea. Typically, you will see a peak setting on the back of magnets, but some manufacturers actually keep it real with you and put the RMS rating on there. But if you look at the magnet to cone ratio, imagine if this was a 6.5 with this much magnet to cone ratio. Imagine. Or we can step this thing up. We've seen applications like this in some 8-inch drivers. We've seen a ratio similar to this in some 12-inch drivers as well. 10-inch drivers as well, as far as magnet to cone ratio. So when you couple that, or when you focus on that small, look at the little, you can see the voice coil down up in there and everything. That's not bad. I don't know why. I guess I didn't give it a full once over in the beginning. You see the little copper down up in there. This is not a bad build. This is not a bad build. I think I was judging it a little bit too harshly on the first video. I think because the center channel, this is the center channel, and they're identical. The left and right is pretty much the same driver. And the surround units are just a bit smaller than this because they have a 10 watt rating, whereas this have a 20 watt rating. So not bad, not too shabby. I think I misjudged it during the first the initial unboxing or disassembly of the surround channel. So I kind of like this, and I'm really looking forward to building something with this right here. But enough of that. Yeah, I'm going to be taking this out. That looks like the amplifier right there. I'm going to be taking this out, and so you got the amp, you got the Bluetooth module in here as well. And that looks pretty damn good to me. I like exactly what it is that I'm seeing right here. I like what I'm looking at right here. Oh yeah. I'm going to have some fun with this. So you guys just stick around. I am going to be, like I said, removing these components and building something with this. And I cannot wait. Just to give you guys a preview of what it is that I'm trying to do, let me go grab a piece of my wood first. My apologies. I didn't even go over the passive radiators with you guys. I kind of like the passive radiators. If anybody is trying to get a part number off of this, let me see if I can kill that glare for you. I'm guessing that's some type of part number, serial number. I don't know. Maybe you can Google that number. It'll give you something. But the back portion of it, I don't know what type of metal it is. I don't think it's magnetized, so it may be some type of aluminum or something. I guess that's what it is. It pretty much weighs that. It puts a little weight to it to kind of like indicate an actual. That's how you tune passive radiators. In case someone who is curious, you actually have to add a weight to it, and depending on the weight that you actually add to it, it gives you a certain frequency. So you add a little bit weight, it changes the frequency. Take away some weight, changes the frequency. So it depends on exactly what it is that you're trying to accomplish with this. So that's the passive radiator. And this piece of pine right here is actually what I was going to use to build my units. I'm thinking about building a tower and pretty much do it as you see here. You see that? And kind of like get one of the drivers and just have a passive radiator just like that, just built just the way it is. And maybe it doesn't need to be a tower, right? Maybe it doesn't need to stand that tall for a little sealed enclosure for such a small driver like this. I'm actually thinking about doing it where, and I was getting crazy with this thing, right? I was thinking to myself, hey, why don't you do something weird with it, right? Like take it and create a sealed chamber just for this little guy and have this guy behind it, right? And have this on top of this as a sealed chamber and have the radiator actually vented for lower frequencies. That's kind of what I was thinking about. Maybe T-line this section of the enclosure or the tower, T-line that just for bass response, right? And just have a sealed section on top of this right here, just like that. And have this radiator working the T-line section. That's kind of like what I was thinking about doing. But then I thought about it. I said, well, that would be great, but highly unnecessary. Why would that be highly unnecessary? Because this is a center, well, this is not center channel. This is just be the left and right channels. Why would you go through all of that just for a soundbar who's had this thing tuned to a degree where I don't even think that it's going to even be able to take full advantage of a T-line enclosure. A T-line for a full range, it need not to be filtered in such a way that this thing has it filtered. This thing was designed as a 5.1 surround system, and I guarantee you that these things are probably have a crossover at probably like 80 hertz or some shit. So if you do a design like a T-line that it's not even going to be able to reach those lower frequencies like that, so why bother, right? So why bother building a T-line enclosure for something that's not even going to allow it to take advantage of the lower frequencies? So I kind of scratched that idea off, and I said, well, instead, maybe what you can do is, just do it, design it the way that it is, the way that it came out, but just put it in a larger cabinet so you can get more output from it. So I'm thinking about like the length of this wood. I think it's approximately 3 feet. The length of the length of this pine right here, and as you can see, it's a better thickness, and it's gonna give it way more quality than what this plastic can give it at any day of the year. So what I'm gonna do is just take this and build the enclosure out of this and put the little passive radiator on there and probably cut this in half, right? So I can use this. No need of wasting pine. So use this for the other half. Just cut this thing in half, 1.5 feet and 1.5 feet. And then I got my 2 center channels and probably sit them up on a piece of PVC piping or something. I don't know. My brain is working right now. And I have a couple more pieces of this. And I think the entire center channel can utilize the center channel can utilize the entire length of this board right here. You know, because it's going to have to house these internals pretty much as you see them here. But hey, that's me talking right now. That's just what I got on my mind right now. Let me know what you guys think in the comment sections below. And until next time, don't forget to like the video if you got something out of it. Share the video with someone who you feel can get something out of it. And until next time, it's your boy D, and I'm out.